Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 5 of the 814 Sports Report. That's Logan Lepiscopo. I'm Chris Sohl. Logan, the stories continue to flood Gannon, the Highmark Event Center, Gannon men's basketball. They're off to the national championship. Just what an exciting time to live in the city of Erie and be a part of this Gannon thing.
It's crazy to see a Division II team get rallied around so much by the community. I mean, we saw with Mercyhurst, both programs, when they got their first Division I home playoff games. It was a pretty good crowd, but I mean, to see Gannon get this like send off on the bus and just to hear from all the stories of people that we've talked to, from the '87 team to the fans, to the players on the team now, like it's crazy to think that they've been waiting almost 4 decades to get back to this moment, and now is a chance to win the first ever team NCAA title at Gannon.
Yeah, I think you talking to members of that 1987 team and just hearing the stories of people lining up outside and having the coach at the time, giving handing out donuts and coffee to people sitting at games, and myself in Pittsburgh going to a local bar and people there 3 to 4 hours a game. Like, this game and this team means so much to the people of Erie and former again alum, former players. Really exciting stuff. All right, all the emotional stuff out of the way. Logistically speaking, they have been fantastic. Playing some of their best
wins.
But especially recently, covering them in Pittsburgh, they had 2 no-sweat wins. Absolutely dominant against Michigan Tech, dominant against Oklahoma Baptist, 2 top 15 teams in the country. And just from the opening tip-off to the final whistle, offense humming, defense clicking. Well, you just did an interesting, cool sit-down with Precious Aguiar. Talk to me a little bit about his experience coming to Gannon and a little bit of his basketball journey and now how he's turned into one of their premier players on the floor.
Yeah, if you're watching this before Friday at 7:30, Gannon special going on for us, building out a whole show. John Leidick, Mike Bruzy will be anchoring that while the SeaWolves have their home opener. We'll get to that also. But yeah, Precious, very interesting story. Came from Germany, Speyer, Germany. The Idiaru family, his parents are still in Germany. So it's just him and his brother that have been over here in America since about high school. He's bounced around coast to coast, state to state. He talked to you and the rest of the media after the one playoff game. I believe it was after the Elite Eight game. How at Longwood University, Division I. That's what every kid wants to do. Play college at the Division I level, and he wasn't happy. And then he comes to Gannon, and he found a home. My favorite story that he told me in the sit down, and you'll be able to hear about that Sunday morning before the game. You'll hear more in depth about Precious, his entire story, getting here from Germany to where we are now. But when he hit the portal from Longwood, Coach Easton Mazzoli reached out, wanted him to get a visit in, and Precious was going to go home. He was like, I want summer, get a break, think about things over. And Easton insisted like he come in, meet the team, meet the coaching staff. And my favorite part of the whole story was Easton Mazzoli drove 2.5 hours to get him to the Pittsburgh airport to get him to his flight back home. And Precious said that it was a nonstop conversation just about basketball, how he could fit in with this team. And you mentioned that Longwood, like it was a really dark time for him. Like he didn't know if he was really able to play on the college stage. And yeah, you go down a level in college from D1 to D2, but now you're competing for a national championship. You're one of the key contributors to the team. And I didn't even know this. You mentioned he had wrist surgery to begin the year. So that first 2 months of the season, he wasn't starting. He was coming off the bench, still contributing, fresh off a wrist injury. He started the last 21 games. I expect to be 22 on Sunday. And every game, if he can stay out of foul trouble, I mean, he's a problem. He can score everywhere.
He can score everywhere. He's a great shooter. He can throw it down on you. At the game, I think, obviously not the level player, but play style very similar like a Kevin Durant. Seriously, like the way he can stretch the floor, dominate inside, but just hearing you talk about that 2.5 conversation with Easton Mazzoli, I think that's what really makes this Gannon team special. We have seen really talented Gannon teams over the years, but these group of guys, I can't state it enough. It's cliche, but cliche sayings are true for a reason. They are a brotherhood.
The reason it's a cliche.
They are all bought into the same thing. We've talked about it on the show before. Yep. The constant effort, how well conditioned they are, how dominant they are. And Logan, what makes this team so dominant is they seriously have 7, 8, 9 guys that can put up double figures. Yeah. One night it'll be the Morgan twins. They had 48 points combined. Lucas setting a career high with 28 points. Yeah. They were dominant. Maybe the other guys didn't really show up. I mean, Pace at 17, Precious at 17, but any one of their starting 5 can drop double digits into the 20s, and even guys on the bench give Coach Mazzoli and Gannon the useful minutes. I
was going to say, we haven't even seen guys like Victor Desmond or Lucas Sakasi really need to take over a game. If you get not only your starting 5 going, you mentioned I think they could go 10 deep probably. Even Mason Kemp, when he comes off the bench, he'll play 10 minutes and end the night with 8 points. He'll play 8 minutes and finish with 8 points. He's very efficient. Very good around the rim. I think, as you mentioned, Precious comparing him to Kevin Durant. I think Kemp would be more of a perfect 5, Precious at the 4.
Yeah.
But you just have so many good guards on that team. Pace, Lucas. You could probably group in the Morgan brothers as guards. You got Lane Sarver. This is a very well-rounded team. And Chris, I know you weren't here last year for this team, but it's a roster that only had 5 returning players, and you're getting. Obviously, Pace Prosser is on a whole another level returning to the lineup, but you got the Morgan twins and Precious both inserted and immediate, top players in the lineup, which is insane. But you mentioned the fans rallying around. You were there for the bus send-off. I mean, what was the vibe? They had Governor Shapiro in a couple days before that.
I think it's just the most interesting part for me was going to that event and just talking to students who maybe don't pay attention to the athletic scene, but hearing just Gannon and the national news. A little city here in Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania, is on the map because of what this team has done, because of the run they've gone on. It's been incredible. I think the students, the staff, talking to President Iwanalco a little bit, they're just so proud of all the work that's been put in, and so proud of Easton hasn't been a head coach for that long, just what he's been able to do to this program, getting guys in the portal, the relationships they've built, the memories they've built. It's hopefully this story just has this is more than just a basketball run. This is a story, and I just hope that all the work that's gone into this with the players and the coaches, I hope it can just end with a cherry on top, because they've been a joy to cover, a joy to watch, and just truly spectacular and dominant all season long.
I think they got a really you could not have had a better draw. This Elite 8, you get to play the 6 seed, the 7 seed upsets the 2, so you get Oklahoma Baptist. Now you get the 5 seed because Lander College upset a powerhouse in Division 2. For people who don't know, Nova Southeastern went to the last 3 championship games. 1 lost, 1. So they were reigning champs of D2, and they bounced out. And you give Easton Mazzoli and that coaching staff a week plus to prepare. Given, I'm not trying to say Lander College can't do the same, because they're at the same place for a reason also. And they beat that team. So they can't be overlooked because of their seed. But it might be biased because we've been around them, but I feel like if you give that team, that coaching staff that long to prep for you, it's going to be a long night.
It's just, I think what's so impressive about Gannon is we talk about the depth, but their play style has been so hard to scout, right? From Michigan Tech, from the opening tip, the tenacity, the aggressiveness, and the pursuit on defense in the full court pressure, it was clear that Michigan Tech was outmatched. They couldn't hit shots. Oklahoma Baptist did a really good job. That was a really tight game until the second half. And Easton wasn't happy with the way these guys played in the first half. Of course, he's never satisfied. But it seemed like Oklahoma Baptist was better prepared for that full court pressure and the speed and the transition. But eventually they started to crack. So it'll be interesting to see how Lander handles it, because it's one thing to do it all season long. The PSAC West is a very competitive conference, but it's one thing to do it all season long in the regular season, but for it to translate in March is even more impressive.
Yeah, when I had the game pulled up here when Nova Southeastern and Lander College were playing, and I think it's going to be a number one, insanely high scoring game. But number two, like, it's going to come down to who has more players that can come in off the bench and be efficient. Because for Gannon, that's where they get a lot of their scoring from. Like, obviously, Pace Prosser has his nights, but, those guys coming off the bench, I think Gannon 1 to 10, maybe even 11 guys has a lot of teams outbeat. Their conditioning is there. The depth of the roster is there. I think Lander College is going to be tough to keep up with that team and be able to match the play style and who's in, who's out, because Easton will take a full five and swap them out for a full five.
He always does that. Yeah, he'll take out his entire starting lineup, maybe leave Pace in there, and throw another 4 guys. And another thing that I find interesting, Logan, is this Gannon team averaging 95 points per game on offense. Every time I ask Easton, what was the key or what do you guys pride yourself on, he always talks about the versatility guarding 1 through 5. Defense is the number one priority of this Gannon team. And it's almost like because they prioritize their defense so much, it leads to their offense, right?
Yep.
In the Elite Eight, they hold Michigan Tech to 49 points. They only scored 75, which for them, almost 20 points below their season average. And then they go for 95 against Oklahoma Baptist. So they can beat you in a lot of different ways. They're exciting. The story has been incredible. I, of course, will be there for the championship game, full coverage on Erie News Now. A lot of fun stories. I'm sure there'll be plenty of Gannon fans there to celebrate and hopefully celebrate before and after the game. So a lot of exciting stuff with Gannon. They've been a pleasure all along, and hopefully they can finish off this story. But obviously, Logan, we're entering the spring season. We talked about the major leagues. Erie SeaWolves opening night on Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how this team performs with a lot of players that were on the past few championship rosters, not there. And obviously, like, the end goal, you want to get past AA, like the Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal. Like, those are the 2 guys that you probably missed. Max Clark wasn't even in Erie for that long, but it just is showing that the SeaWolves system has been good, and I think this season's a real test getting to a championship game 3 years in a row. Do you still have guys from your single A that are uncovered gems?
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to be? Because I think returning this year, maybe like 2 or 3 guys that were on the lineup.
You got John Peck, Justice Bigby, of course, Chris Myers there. So Carlos Pena in the bullpen. So there are some savvy veterans, but a lot of guys being promoted from the single A, right?
And the managers changed. I think this is the 3rd straight season with a new manager now.
Yeah, Tony Capricello is the new manager. So.
The stash is fire, by the way.
Fire mustache on him. Most Italian-sounding name ever. He doesn't look very Italian, but he won a championship in single A last year in Detroit. He gets promotion to double A. And like as you mentioned, Logan, I mean, we talked about it before. The Tigers' current lineup has seven of their 9 batters are from Erie, of course. We're seeing what Kevin McGonigal has done. He's cooled off a little bit, but still performing at a high level, making the jump from double A to the majors. It's impressive stuff. And obviously, in a minor league like this, the focus is development. But Erie has been so dominant that at this point, fans expect championships every year. I mean, they've won the division 5 years in a row.
Yeah, speaking of the fans, I am intrigued to see when the first person in line at the gates will be. It's at
6:05.
6:05 first pitch.
Over under 5:05.
Well, I think gates open 5:35.
Okay, so
maybe 5:05.
If you make that early.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like they're diehards around here. I'm gonna say like 4:05. Like, I would not be surprised if someone is there 2 hours before the game.
It's almost like fans are so excited because obviously last year you fall up short against Binghamton going for the 3-peat, but you've won 5 division titles in a row. Erie obviously has, well, not obviously, but they have the new club now, the Club by Synchrony, getting a big sponsorship there. Meet the team night was incredible there, meeting all the new players, but expectations in Erie are always going to be high as long as they continue to win games. Really.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy to see the outpour for a double A team. Like, coming here from, Waynesburg, Pennsylvania in college, where I spent 4 years with best thing was 30 minutes away in West Virginia University or Pitt University or wherever. And now it's like okay, in the heart of the city I work at, there's a AA team where kids go and end up in the majors. Like, yeah, the expectations are going to be high, and they should be. It's kind of like being, I guess, a Steelers fan, probably. Like, you got 6 Super Bowls. You're always expecting a Super Bowl. You're always in the playoffs. You're expecting to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it's really impressive what they've done. Obviously, we'll have a lot of coverage here on Erie News Now.
Oh boy, all day.
You'll be at the game, hopefully talking to some fans and such. We'll have a show going for that. But speaking of minor league baseball, Logan, Connor Griffin. Now it's not official yet. He is making the jump up from AAA. Played about a week for the Pittsburgh Pirates AAA affiliate. It appears he's making the jump. And the reported contract, 9 years, $140 million. Logan, to put in perspective,
That's a long time.
Sidney Crosby is probably the third greatest player in NHL history. His career earnings are around 175. Connor Griffin's never had a major league at bat. He might have $140 million at the bet.
Well, we said preseason, or not preseason, during spring training before the season started, like, you expected him to be on the starting roster to begin the season. So it's no surprise, but I don't mean to be that guy, but the fans know it. They're a cheap franchise.
And guys like this don't come around very often.
So my question would be, we'll get back to the fact he's, potentially making his major league debut in their home opening series. What are you giving Paul Skeens if you give him a contract? Like, you might have to rid the rest of the roster to afford him.
Well, so much of this is going to depend, number one, on what's going to happen with the salary cap. We're going to have a lockout. Is there going to be all that dispute?
Yeah.
I was talking to John Lydick earlier. He was talking 8 years, $450 million, which would completely reset the pitcher market, right? We've seen guys like Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto get $700 million, but I mean, Pirates fans, is this their most exciting day since 1979, the World Series? You get truly, Connor Griffin is a generational prospect. We don't see guys like this walk around. Minor league player of the year at 19 years old last year. He's dominated at every single level he's been at, offensively, defensively, and now you're inserting him into a Pirates lineup, Logan, that leads the majors in home runs. They were bottom of the league in runs last year.
If you would have told me that, given we're only so many games into the season, at any point in the year, if the Pirates were leading in home runs, I would have thought that was crazy. But, I mean, Brandon Lau has been pretty good so far.
Good. Brian Reynolds has been excellent. We've talked about this rotation, guys that have stepped up.
O'Neal Cruz's bat has been good.
Yeah. It looks like he got a pair of shades. He did have a nice assist the other day in center field.
Yes,
obviously,
he did.
A strong arm, but yeah, John Lydick is excited about the Pirates. Would you believe that? I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah. Is there optimism they finish above 500? I don't know.
It might be a frisky playoff team. You got a good rotation. You got some good free agents coming in. You obviously have some young talent. All right, that's enough baseball, Logan. You're a football guy, and there was some big news.
No better guy to talk about the Las Vegas
Raiders, man. All right, Mike is yours, my friend. Have at it.
So
let's tell the people what happened first.
So first of all, Adam Schefter gave me a heart attack just about. His original tweet said Kirk Cousins signed the Las Vegas Raiders a 5-year, $172 million. Like, I about lost my mind.
What was his contract with the Falcons?
That's what it was. It was
the exact same.
Yeah. So that's why he said that, because I guess technically, like, he's still under the Atlanta contract because they released him before guarantees. I don't really know why he even said that. But the end of the story is the Raiders signed him to a 1-year, $20 million deal, a chance to add a second year if they opt into it. He's a backup. Maybe starts the first few weeks of the season. I don't see that this would be any reason for the Raiders to get away from Fernando Mendoza.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you.
Given everybody does expect this next quarterback class to be one of the better ones we've seen in recent years. But my problem with that is it's always, the next year. The next year you can get a quarterback. The next year you can land your franchise guy. You have a national championship winner, Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, Chris, I don't know about you, but Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr., I don't even think were thought of to be considered first round. Omar Cooper Jr. is considered a first-round pick now. Did anybody have him that high on their draft boards before Indiana's season?
No,
I don't think so.
The thing is, Logan, I think it's sports in general, especially in the NFL. Every year you delay getting something, you're just spinning the wheel of endless possibilities. I mean, Drew Aller, for example, stays at Penn State. What does he do? Blows his knee out. Like
he could have been a first-round pick last year.
He could have been a first-round pick. Like Dante Moore is taking a roll of the dice by staying at Oregon. Like there's so many decisions that you make as an organization, as a player, as a team, that could completely alter for good and for bad. Like maybe the Raiders say, we don't care what anybody says. Kirk Cousins would ever come in, be our backup, start for a little while. We like Fernando Mendoza. He's our guy, and maybe he turns into a future Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they say, we'll trade back. Somebody else can draft Fernando Mendoza, and then you look back 10 years, and he's an MVP in the league, and then you're kicking yourself because you didn't do it. You have to trust your initial intuition, and you can't just make decisions based on the assumption that something will happen. Like this class is supposed to be great. We've seen classes that were supposed to be great where the hype fell off. And of course, they didn't turn into that.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins to the Raiders is because you need a veteran presence, and he's worked with Clint Kubiak before. I mean, it's pretty simple. We've seen it happen before. Phillip Rivers coming out of retirement. It's because he knew Steichen's system. You don't want to just grab a guy off the streets and hope that they can pick it up in a week. They had a guy they knew if he was willing to play, he could pick up the system right away. Kirk Cousins knows how Kubiak likes to run an offense. Slot him in for the first few weeks. It's what Atlanta did with Michael Penix Jr. So I fully expect this to be a camp battle. I don't think it'll be automatically like Kirk Cousins is the starter for week 1 without going through July and preseason in August. I think that it's going to be a battle. And Mendoza meets with the Raiders on Tuesday. I'm sure there's going to be he's not a guy that's going to really probably care.
I don't want to go to the Raiders because Kirk O'Chains is here.
Yeah, like he's not going to be mad because Kirk Cousins got picked up. Like
what a quarterback.
He's going to walk into that meeting. He's going to be like, oh, yeah, man, I'm just so excited that Kirk Cousins will be here to mentor me.
Yeah, put it in his LinkedIn bio. That's going to be an incredible quarterback.
Yeah, oh, my gosh.
Mendoza and Kirk Cousins.
I see the LinkedIn post now. Thank you to my mentor, Kirk Cousins, for helping me through my rookie season. Like
2 likable guys, man. That would be. I saw pictures on X today of like a blended like Max Crosby all tatted up with like Kirk Cousins in the chains and then Fernando Mendoza. But I don't know. Obviously, Mendoza did not perform at the combine, but he had his pro day. What are your kind of thoughts on him? Like, honest, bias aside, like your evaluation of him.
Well, I think a big thing here is that the big thing that's out from the national level is Dan Orlovsky going on about Ty Simpson is better than Fernando Mendoza. And he said that Ty Simpson played in bigger games because he was in the SEC. I'm sorry, did we forget that Fernando Mendoza won a national championship, played through all those games? I mean, I don't know where Ty Simpson was, but I don't recall him making it to the national championship. I also recall Indiana beating Alabama 38-0. Yeah. Where was Ty Simpson in that game? So I think every year we go into a draft boosting up the quarterback position. We saw it in 2021. Like Trevor Lawrence was a clear-cut best quarterback by a mile. And now we start pushing up Zach Wilson and Trey Lance and Justin Fields and Mac Jones. And all of a sudden, you got 5 quarterbacks in the top 15 picks. And we saw it recently. Caleb Williams, I would say, was by far the best quarterback in his class. We boost Drake Mayo, boost Jaden Daniels.
Every team is
Bo
desperate
Nix.
for quarterbacks.
Michael Penix Jr. becomes a top 10 pick. Like, what?
It's the same thing in fantasy football drafts, man. Once the quarterbacks start going, it doesn't matter who's available. Yeah. Everybody's going to get desperate. Yeah. You don't want to think about that, man. I'm sitting there in the 4th round. Jaden Daniels right in front of me, and he goes. And another guy goes, and it's like, oh.
Well, guess I got to take my quarterback now.
Yeah.
But I would say out of this draft class, he is still a top 5 overall talent. I'd say he's probably 4 or 5, though. I think that Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, probably Fernando Mendoza.
Interesting.
because, I mean, Jeremiah Love, people ragged on the Raiders for taking Genty as high as they did. I would not be shocked, and I know you're not the biggest fan of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get past the Giants at 5.
I don't think he will either, and it comes more down to John Harbaugh has that final order, right? And we know there's a couple of things we know. We know that John Harbaugh loves a hard-hitting linebacker, which Sonny Styles is that, but he's also not that in a way, more of an off-ball guy, not that super physical Roquan Smith,
I was gonna
Ray Lewis type of linebacker.
I was trying to think of like one to compare him to, but like all these guys have been like, I want to beat your face in.
Brutal. And then the Caleb Downs things comes in as well.
Kyle Hamilton
had with Kyle Hamilton. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, Ed Reed. So I think they're going to get somebody from Ohio State personally. I don't know who it'll be.
What would your thoughts be on Cardell Tate?
A receiver this high again, just I feel like there are other needs. But
that's fair.
Couple minutes left, Logan. I want to just pose the question. John and I were talking about it earlier. Kirk Cousins going to Vegas is actually really interesting for the Pittsburgh Steelers because what do they do if Aaron Rodgers falls in a career?
I mean,
you didn't get Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Do you really trust Will Howard to step in and be the day one starter?
I think what they would do is they would probably stick and pick. Where are they at? 21, I think they're at. We'll just say that for the sake.
Are they gonna fall for?
Do they pull the trigger on Ty Simpson? Do they wait until a later round draft like Carson Beck, something like that to compete? But if Aaron Rodgers, wherever he is at right now, haven't heard from him
probably in a warm box and complete pitch blackness.
Yeah, couple vegetables and other aromas that he's taken to make him feel good.
That documentary, by the way, is really good.
Aaron
Rodgers' Enigma documentary. He gets a lot. It actually really brings you into the way he thinks, which I think is actually love or hate him.
I would say they probably start Mason Rudolph. Like, I think they give Will Howard a shot in training camp and OTAs and everything, but at the end of the day, like, Mason Rudolph's been in Pittsburgh. He knows, like, how those guys...
He's played well for them at times.
Yeah.
He really has.
Yeah, but I guess also it's like you got a new offense. So I feel like it's really anybody's game at this point unless Aaron comes back.
It's just tough because I actually think a lot of what they did in free agency were good moves for a team that wants to win, but it's like you're leaving so many question marks at the quarterback position.
Like, if you take anything on the defensive side of the ball, you're wasting a draft pick.
Yeah.
You're wasting a draft pick unless you're going even interior, like you got Y.A. Black and Derek Harmon. You don't need to replace Cam Hayward anytime soon. You got depth behind T.J. Watt. You got 3-4 guys that can play safety on the roster, so you don't need that. But yeah, definitely an interesting storyline to follow because if they don't hear something by draft day, you got to pull the trigger.
And Aaron Rodgers
at some point in the draft
is the guy that would wait until after draft.
He would.
So that'll be interesting to cover. But Gannon in the national championship, SeaWolves opening day. We got the big call up for Connor Griffin and of course Kirk Cousins to the Raiders. That was episode 5. That was episode 5 already, Logan.
5.
Incredible stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in. For Logan Lepiscopo and Chris Sohl. We'll see you in the next one.